Because unlike you guys, I have a life and don't pour over them.
Whoa. Seriously, Ryan, where's the door? Show her to it.
Shots fired. Welcome to the Kindred Spirit Podcast, a show all about the board game Spirit Island. Here we'll talk about analytics and strategies within the game, as well as a plethora of other topics that can be found within it. Well, guys, lightning strikes twice. For lo, once again, we have Laura joining us today.
Yay!
Hooray! Maybe I should say Laura strikes twice? I don't know. Anyway, today we'll be discussing a recap of our first games now that we actually finally have the finalized content.
You didn't introduce me.
Oh, hi, John.
John's here too?
Also around.
Wow. Quiet, you! Let's go! Alrighty, boy, where to start? Jagged Earth has so much stuff in it, I feel as if we can talk for, hours. Oh, wait.
We probably will.
We have, and we already will. So, one thing I wanted to get in right off the bat, which was pretty funny, was something we mentioned in episode 3 long ago when we were talking about player counts, and we were talking about a similar topic, which was how many times have you guys played multiple spirits at the same time? Maybe doing double duty, having 2 spirits at a time, 3 spirits at a time. I remember asking John what his preferences were on that, and he said, I hate it.
You love it now. We do it all the time.
Say you like it, John.
I know that Laura likes it.
I wear sleeves to hide the bruises.
You can't say that.
Guys, not again! I told you we would do this again! But anyway, I personally like doing one at a time only because it's easier for me to interact with other players when I'm not completely divided my attention on
It is a downside.
We have talked about that, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to make more of an intentional effort to not use your spirits just with each other, but across the board.
And hey, if you can multitask perfectly fine with it, go for it. My attention span is sufficiently taken up when I'm doing 2 people. So anyway, what I mean to bring up with all this is that we asked you guys if you had ever played double duty or triple duty or quadruple duty, and we were thinking, I wonder what the highest number.
Yeah.
Well, there's this one dude that we were made aware of on Tabletop Simulator who played all 24 spirits.
Oh my god.
His wife hates him.
All 24 spirits. It took him 36 hours to complete the game.
It's almost a work week.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's just insane. So here I am struggling with 2, and then they just went right for the jugular, 2, 3, 24.
How many rules were missed?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Funny thing is, though, that guy played that new card, the To Dream of a New Land or whatever, where you add a board. So he had 25 boards on there, of course.
Wait a minute, he made it even again, though, because then he played Briny Deep.
Oh, dude.
Back to 24.
We don't need you, just nuke him into orbit. That's just hilarious. If this podcast ever reaches the ears of that guy, props to you, man. I don't know how you did it. My brain would have exploded, but
I'd like to interview him.
I'd like to. Call us at 555-260. Fun fact, you know that there is no phone number that exists that starts with 555?
How come that's become the cliche?
I don't know. But if ever you hear on a show or the radio or on a movie, if a number starts with 555, it's a fake number. So that's the go-to thing to verify that this is a fake number. So it's not a 86753. Oh, sorry. Anyway.
That's why that girl never replied to me.
Oh, John.
That's
hey, what's your number?
Out, John.
Hey, baby.
I love you, wife.
Hey, baby, what's your number? 555. Oh.
This didn't go that well, I guess.
I'm sorry, guy.
Do I still give the check?
Anyway, Spirit Island. So, one thing we briefly discussed before Jagged Earth came out was the whole aspect of Badlands tokens. Obviously, we had 4 tokens that came in Branch and Claw, with the Beasts, the Wilds, the Disease, and the Strife tokens that came in, and how cool they were, and how we love each of them. And then we heard about this Badlands, and how it could be a double-edged sword, because it could be bonus damage against invaders, which is cool, but it could also be bonus damage against the Han, which I'm not really a big fan of. So at the time, I was like, well, I don't know, I haven't used it yet, haven't seen an execution, and I remember I was super worried, and John and I both expressed concerns about this, because I'm I don't want to have this permanent token, which, by the way, it is a permanent token. As of right now, maybe in future expansions, they can have stuff that can get rid of it, but for
treading
now,
lightly was the
correct.
approach.
We wanted to make sure
Cast
that it
down
was...
into the Briny Deep can get rid of it, just the whole board along with it.
Just make sure that every single Badlands you ever place is on that one, and then just nix the board. So, once again, Briny Deep's crazy extreme...
Love that card.
Awesomeness.
Yeah, awesomeness. Just the measures. Extreme measures to
Is that in the Webster's? Awesomeness?
Awesomeness.
That's true. Just the extreme measures that Briny Deep can bring to the game can just help us in that ridiculously specific instance. Anyway, but the funny thing is, though, now that we've played a few games of Jagged Earth, and now that we've kind of played with Badlands, I have completely done a 180, and I friggin' love this
Love
stuff.
them.
I am spamming Badlands all the time. Oh my word, I'm like, ooh, yeah.
Especially if a miner comes up
Oh,
and
I
your
know.
spirit doesn't utilize them.
And
You're
it was
like, ooh.
so not as bad as I thought, because if you do a defend card and stuff, you still block the damage before it happens. And so if you can negate the damage before the damage is dealt, then the Badlands is not a threat to you. And then so long as you have Dahan in there, bam, sweet. Or, I mean, I guess there doesn't have to be Dahan in that land to make use of Badlands, but, oh, I love it.
Not
So
gonna
good.
lie, I did not know that's how Badlands work until right now. So I just learned something.
It's a learning experience.
No wonder I did not care for them.
Yeah, no wonder why you played Lord terribly.
He's not wrong. I did.
I'm just kidding.
I always forget
We'll
to
get
add
into
the
that.
damage and stuff, and I didn't know that if you block the damage, then the Badlands
Right.
don't count. So it's
Right.
not, if they do 2 damage, it's not 3 damage that you now have
Immediately,
to defend.
right.
No damage is going through.
Right,
Wow.
It's very, very critically important to understand the specifics of how Badlands goes, because it's not,
Damage
if a
against the
Badlands
land,
is there,
too.
it increases damage, like the base damage, period. So it's not like, oh, there's a city here, and if there's a Badlands, that means the city does 4 damage. I can see why you might be
That's
tempted
what
to
I
think.
thought.
I can see why you might think that's the case, and it's very similar to that. It's if the damage goes through,
Additional.
the human
Then
that was just
also-
damaged will be dealt 1 damage per Badlands in that land. So what that means is if you can stop it, then the Badlands doesn't do anything.
So
as
if
far
you're
as-
like me and you were playing that Badlands wrong, hopefully now we helped clear that up for you.
There you go.
Hey.
And as a helpful reminder, Badlands only goes against humans, not the land. So that is very, very, very incredibly helpful to know, because I saw
Also
a lot.
didn't know that.
You did. There's the door. Get out.
Well, hi.
Well, you guys stop fighting on my podcast.
This is our counseling. Thanks.
Anyway, I kind of felt bad in one way once I saw the finalized content that came in, which, by the way, I'm so glad that we can actually now definitively look at these cards and look at these player boards without having to do the stupid, maybe this will get changed, and if this stays, then this is a really cool thing. Well, just as a word to the wise, our hype lists were made and were based off of beta content. Pre-release content that was not finalized. So, not to say that every single thing that we discussed in the hype list is completely void and no longer applies to the game, but there are combos, there are things that we described in the hype list that have since changed. Why? Because the cards in question, the characters in question, the powers, the passives, some of them have stayed the same. A lot of the values, though, maybe got tweaked here and there, and some combos are no longer possible. So, a lot of Vengeance's stuff that we talked about in the hype list no longer can work in the exact same way that we described it in the hype list, because that was his beta version.
Yeah, basically skip over everything that we said about Vengeance, because we're like, this spirit's gonna be awesome.
And then they
And-
nerfed him into the ground, and he sucks. New shadows. New aspect inbound. I'm kidding. Anyway, so just the hype list is made off of beta content. Don't take it super seriously as law. So,
But
anyway,
still listen to it.
That's right. So the basic strategies of what the characters can do is more or less the same. So anyway, the reason why I bring that up is because A, it qualifies a hype list that we concluded a few episodes ago, and it's a good qualification for what we were about to do, which is talk about the finalized people and the games that we've had. So you may hear us describe something that sounds different from what we described earlier, and that's probably because this is the finalized version. So we are just going to get right into it. With my hype list, as you guys know, I have my hype list as my guide to which spirit I play next. I have done, as of right now, I have done 8 games of Jagged Earth, which means I'm all the way up to position 8. Volcano I played as last night. It was great. I will talk about that later. So I'm going through my hype list a little bit at a time, and so it was so much fun. So I already talked about Mist. Mist was my number 1, as you guys may remember. And so on episode 9, I believe it was, we talked about my first game with Mist, and John talked about his game as well because he was there. So now we're going to get into just the next people, and so that is Downpour. So we've all played as a lot of these spirits. I think you guys have actually played more of these spirits than I have, because you know you guys are married, you guys do like date night stuff, and you guys like play all that. And so since I'm single, I don't have that luxury.
Wait, we
we
gotta tell that joke of you and Laura snapping each other, and you're like, I'm not surprised.
Oh.
Laura, tell the joke.
So my 30th birthday came up, and as we all know, COVID birthdays suck.
Happy birthday to you. Sorry.
I'm old now.
You're 30?
Sorry, continue.
The kids still think I'm 18 at school. It's great.
Aw.
But my birthday came up, and John set up a surprise birthday party for me with another couple that also likes Spirit Island. We were just going to go on a dog walk with them, and they invited us in because John claimed he had to use the bathroom.
Nice.
So we went inside, and they had Spirit Island all set up and a taco bar, and it was a wonderful evening.
That's
and
awesome.
6 spirits. John and I got to play 2 each and whatnot. So I snapped Ryan.
Are you okay, John? Are
I
you
love
okay
it.
with that?
I love playing 2 spirits.
He says that through gnashing teeth.
I'll do anything for you, honey.
Things you do for marriage.
Anyway.
But I snapped Ryan that we were playing this because I'm like, woo, we're playing this for my birthday. And he's like,
Yeah, I saw that a
Yes.
mile away.
yeah.
And then she said, wait, really? I was like, oh, are you kidding? Okay, Laura. So, anniversary. You guys play Spirit Island.
We
Date
invited
night.
him over on our anniversary for Spirit Island.
On date nights, you guys do Spirit Island. Oh no, your birthday's coming up?
Spirit Island?
I wonder what you'll be doing.
Rainy
So-
day?
Downpour!
Hey.
Fun fact, though, one thing that's kind of funny is our love for Spirit Island kind of permeates even normal day-to-day conversations. So sometimes when it's raining outside, I'll get a text from John being like, dude, downpour's out here so much!
Or like a mist or something.
I
You
know.
see those flocks of birds, like everybody posts on Reddit, and you just see the flock of birds take off, and it's no longer that, like, carbine from Dunland High. Now it's, oh, there goes many mines
Our
flocking
8th
around.
Lord of the Rings reference.
Yes!
So, but yeah, no, like that one time we were driving home from your parents' house
There was a dude
when they
in
need to
the
help
air.
them move, and
Yeah.
it was like really foggy that night, and we were like, dude, Shroud of Silent Mist is all about here.
Nothing's gonna heal tonight.
No, I can't breathe. Suffocating shroud.
Let me die.
Is this what one fear generation looks like? Anyway, so Downpour drenches the world. Let's get into it.
So Downpour. Downpour is one of those spirits that I didn't understand how cool they were the first time I played it, and then the second time I played it after watching John play it, I was like, oh, this is actually super, super, super cool. I love when they have all of the elements on their track. I just
know.
went back and played Earth, and I was like, where's your elements, buddy?
Dude, I've done the same thing. When
Right?
you play a moderate or a high complexity guy and you go back to like a low complexity, you're like, all right, let's see what I can...
Oh no.
Oh, there's like no bonus stuff on my track.
I literally kept lifting up my little presences, like, is there one under here?
How do I trigger ornates now?
What do you mean card plays?
What is that word, innates? You used plural?
Oh, that's
Oh.
true. Low complexity.
We did the
Singular.
aspects. Just added them.
That's not this
Anyway.
episode. That's not this episode.
Okay, anyways, it was very good. You should play aspects.
I know. I remember when I looked at River the first time, I was like, what is this, Reclaim 1?
Oh,
That was like the craziest
Oh.
thing.
that meme of like brain activity just getting more and more.
Yes, yes. But yeah, I love having elements on a track.
It's so fun, and I love that option to discard 2 of my cards, but instead I get 2 additional water
elements, which is so useful for them.
Oh, it was so wonderful. And you're able to actually bank up quite a lot of money if you're like, oh, I don't need to repeat a card. I'm just going to like get cash, and then I can play a big card.
I love that mechanic.
What
Oh, it's so
changed from the
wonderful.
first game to the second? Because you said there's been like a huge difference.
I think sometimes it does just take me a little while to figure out the strategy of it, because unlike you guys, I have a life and don't pour over them.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Seriously, Ryan, where's the door? Show her to it.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Our second and last episode. Don't get attached, listeners.
I mean, no offense, but
Whose house are you in?
I've always been garbage at strategy. Ryan can tell you I grew up with Ryan and his family and whatnot, and my best friend was always very, very good at strategy and planning things out and thinking forward ahead. And I was always like, I don't know, let's just like dive in and kind of see what happens. And so with the spirits,
Where's
when
Trickster?
when I dive in and like see what happens, then oftentimes you're like, oh, I didn't realize that that's how that strategy is meant to work until
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta see
you
it in
didn't.
person.
Right.
I mean, you could look at a board or like a piece of paper or something that has information on it as far as, oh, how this character is supposed to work, but until you actually like do it, it doesn't like click.
This worked
Exactly.
well when you watched Ryan play Sharp Fangs, and then
Yes.
Mm.
I didn't get sharp fangs with like the moving around of the beasts and everything. And you were like, you know, do your thing and then set up for your next thing until I saw Ryan play that out. And then I
Well-
was like, ooh, now I want to go back and play it again.
In episode 8, you did say you were a visual learner, so...
I am.
Ooh.
And a
It's
tactile
true.
learner.
Yeah,
Just like, I'll figure it out. Give me the things. Let's do it.
right.
One thing that I did do, Thursday we played, and I played Downpour, the removing blight by removing your presence. Like, somehow it didn't quite make sense to me with the gift of abundance, with the destroyed presence, that you can just keep taking yourself off the board and then putting yourself back on the board.
Breaking news. We interrupt this program with urgent developments, delivering the facts straight from the source. We turn it over now to Editing Ryan, live at the scene.
Good evening, everyone. We apologize for the disruption of the program. My name is Editing Ryan, which is the version of me who does all of the editing of these episodes in between recording sessions. At this immediate moment, I am in my pajamas on a Sunday evening. This is actually not the first time I've spoken to you, although it is the first time I've spoken directly to you in this fashion. Every now and then, I add a comment or clarification to something that we've said during an episode. Have you ever heard me make a comment and the volume sounds noticeably different, or maybe the tone of my voice sounds different? Well, that's because those are comments made by Editing Ryan, like I am doing right now. At first, I didn't care about blending them in, so in the first few episodes, it's really noticeable. Thankfully, though, I've started to care just a little bit more, so I put a bit more effort into modulating the sound to make it fit in better. Here at the KSP, we take the concept of correct rule understanding very seriously. You see, we have a unique responsibility to three people. First, we have a responsibility to ourselves as gamers to verify that we have a correct understanding of the rules of a game, because it is important to play the game that the designers produced, with the rule set that they intended. Even though every gamer reserves the right of personal ownership to their own games and experiences that they've paid money for, we owe it to ourselves to know what the original experience is, so that we are not cheating by a lack of knowledge with the rules. Secondly, we have a responsibility to the makers of the game, because even though it is okay to have a rules blunder here and there, it is quite different to publicize incorrect information with such a public platform that we now have. It is an unfair representation to their product, as well as our own integrity of who we should be as gamers. And lastly, we have a responsibility to you, the listeners. Yes, we may talk about subjective things, such as house rules, preferences, and opinions on the show, but we also talk about objective things as well. It is critically important that we promote an accurate and truthful account of the objective elements of the game, because it would be wrong to influence our listeners with incorrect information and therefore become an obstacle of confusion with our various comments or statements. Usually, I do my best to clarify issues like these during the editing of an episode, or I may cut it out entirely. There have been many statements that we've made in past episodes that you've already listened to that were 100% incorrect. Luckily, though, I caught most of them in the editing phase and cut them out so that you never heard them. However, that being said, we are human and are imperfect. There are a slew of things that we are incorrect here and there on, and so some things slip past my notice. For example, in episode 2, I said that Sharp Fang's first innate power is called Joining Hunt. This is not true. It is actually called Ranging Hunt. Now, this isn't a huge problem or massive oversight. It is something little. But what if I had the wrong idea on something big? My earlier statements still ring true that I have a responsibility to get the rules right, regardless of whether or not it is a big thing or a small thing. So why am I telling you all this? Why did I interrupt the program? Well, in the episode, Laura just made a statement. A statement that I, in the episode, will comment on. Editing Ryan interrupted the program right after her statement, but directly before Episode Ryan's reply. Editing Ryan did this because Episode Ryan makes a comment that is incorrect. Episode Ryan calls out Laura for something that she did quote-unquote wrong. In truth, Laura actually did the rule correctly. I was the one who was actually in error. Usually during the editing process, I would just simply cut out the wrong rule statement, as I have done before in the past, and move on. That is not what I'm going to do here, however. I'm actually going to leave it in, because what follows is a wonderfully comedic moment, and I didn't want to lose that moment in the cut. The rule in question here is this. Is there a difference between the words removed and destroyed? I can tell you now, listener, that I have the correct answer. And that answer is, depends. If you are talking about spirit presence, then no, there is no difference. If you are talking about invaders, then yes, there is a difference. Personally, I wish it was a unified answer across the board, but it isn't. I feel as if it lends itself to be slightly confusing, but oh well, whatever. In the original rulebook, it says that remove and destroy are distinctly different. Just for clarification purposes, it is speaking about invaders. Removing an invader is different from destroying an invader. The original rulebook also never directly states anything about the difference between the words remove or destroy when talking about spirit presence, or at least I have looked in that book many times and I have yet to find such a difference. Because of this, I thought that it was the same for both words, and thus this understanding of the terminology went across the board. However, in the back of the Jagged Earth rulebook, there is now a helpful clarification to assist with this issue. I have the Jagged Earth rulebook in front of me right here and now, and I will read it for you. You can find this on page 28. After presence is destroyed or removed, it is put beside the island board and considered destroyed presence from then on. The only difference between the cases is thematic. Removal is generally voluntary. One thing that aided my confusion in this matter was the fact that on Downpour's Innate, it says that you can remove a presence to get the effect, whereas on Rampant Green's player board, it says that you have to destroy one of your presence to get the associated effect. If both are voluntary, then why are they handled with different verbiage? Why is it remove for Downpour, yet it's destroy for Rampant Green? Oh well. All has been made clear to me at this point. No harm, no foul. As this relates to this episode, here with Laura's statement, she was removing presence, but then getting it back with the card Gift of Abundance, which says that you can get destroyed presence back. I thought that those words remove and destroy meant two different things, and technically they do, just not in this instance. They are different when talking about invaders. They are the same when talking about spirit presence. And when I say they are the same, I mean that whether you remove or destroy a presence, you take it away from the board and put it in a little pile somewhere off to the side. That little pile is considered destroyed presence. There are some additional statements about this in the Jagged Earth rulebook, but I will leave you to check that out on your own time if you would like to do so. Once again, you can find that near the bottom of page 28 of the Jagged Earth rulebook. At this time, I will return you back to episode 11, but I'll rewind it back just a few seconds right before Laura makes her statement. So just keep in mind that what comes next is a comment made from my past self. Although it is incorrect, it is also hilarious. Right before I go, I want to add one quick note. I listen back to these episodes throughout my day to check for things and to hear how they sound. I usually don't wear earbuds or headphones. I usually listen to them in the car. Well, this past week, I was listening to them at work, where I am required to listen to music with earbuds or headphones if I want to do so. I didn't realize how loud we get and how often that happens. I apologize for all the times we blew out the eardrums of those of you out there who listen to these episodes in such a way. Like in episode 3, where John made the joke that Laura was pregnant with twins and I lost my mind. So, as a public service announcement to all of you headphone users out there, the next few moments will be decently loud, and so lowering the volume may be a good idea.
This has been your Urgent News Update, delivering the facts straight from the source. This is Editing Ryan, signing off.
Somehow it didn't quite make sense to me with the Gift of Abundance, with the destroyed presence, that you can just keep taking yourself off the board and then putting yourself back on the board.
Now, does it say you may remove a presence from that one?
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, see, that's the problem with him.
Were you cheating?
I was cheating!
Here's the thing, though.
Wait, so remove doesn't mean, like...
Destroy and remove are two different things.
Gosh darn.
Because Gift of Abundance, if I'm not mistaken, says...
I'm leaving! Now I'm showing myself out!
There's the door!
Everything I love about this game is because I read the dang card wrong. I'm leaving!
I had a thought about letting that slide, but I'm like, I can't. I don't want someone to get the wrong idea.
We'll hear it
Well,
in the
think
comments.
think about it this way. It would be really, really OP if you could just infinitely remove Blight.
Yeah,
with
it
Dude.
was.
I was wondering.
I had Heart of the Wildfire sitting right next to me, blighting up everything. Thank you, JP. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. I can get rid of it. And hey, look, I'm going to add myself back again. And I'm just like, here I go. There I come. Here I go. There I come. Dang nabbit. I don't want to talk about it anymore. You guys go.
Well, that was fun.
We're like frazzled, like we're just kind of like speechless. We don't know what to do. Like, well, that happened. Like, by the way, JP is the name of my other brother, if you're wondering who that is. That's the first time he's been mentioned on here by name. Right at you, JP.
You Stratego backstabbing butt wipe.
Anyway.
Hang on. That innate, though, it says you may remove. So I just like using that presence to get energy.
I do it more for late game stuff. Luckily, you can destroy a few presents during a game or remove a presence during the game, but it's not actually that bad. Like, it's not super bad. I mean, yesterday I played as Volcano where I destroyed all my presents except for one. Literally had one. If they got me there, I would have died. But I'm like, it doesn't matter. Add it right back, I'm fine. So point being, it's actually not so bad that you permanently get rid of a presence, even if it's by removing. But I do like the fact that he has that option, but that's one that I don't spam all the time because destroyed, remove. It looks like it's the exact same thing. And I totally get the whole reasoning of like, that is the same thing, right? Oh, it's close. And I can see why you'd be tempted to think that it is the same thing, but it's not quite. Destroyed is...
You still did a good job, baby.
I will say, I do appreciate that they are so specific with their words so that it does help solve a lot of those things if you remember that the specific words mean different things.
Right. It can be really bad for players that aren't as super defined on like strict verbiage on stuff and they use slang for things like, oh, I'm going to move this bro over here.
Goober.
Dahan or whatever.
We like
goober,
saying
whatever.
goober.
It's kind of fun to use slang turns like that, but every now and then, the more a game has specific verbiage, you aren't as viable to use slang. You know what I mean? Kind of, I don't know, it's something I've noticed a lot in certain games. But, like, for instance, cumulative powers on innates. The word instead is very important. If the word instead wasn't used, it's cumulative.
Do it all.
If the word instead is used, it is not cumulative. Okay, that is an example of a very specific word that has a big effect on the game. And destroyed, removed, that's another one. Luckily, this game isn't, like, chock full of them for those people that like to use slang for various things. But I agree, I do find it helpful when it says destroyed or removed, too.
One interesting thing you talked about when you were playing the game, you were kind of like, oh, I finally got to 2 card plays. But it was just so funny her saying that because with Downpour, you were playing 3 or 4 cards. I didn't even know you only had 1 card play for the longest time.
I did, kind of by
obviously
accident.
with repeating.
I would hit the energy track real hard.
Quotations energy track, which is basically just element track.
Between Downpour and Stone.
No, you're right. It's just like, it's so chock full of
Yeah,
elements.
I got to that move up presence and got to the water on the card plays track, and then I was like, I'm just gonna really hit up the top one.
But what's also cool, though,
is
that it gives you flexibility, because if you don't use it for repeats, then you can use it for gaining energy.
Yes.
Which I think is so cool, like, both thematically and mechanically.
I've noticed that about the Jagged Earth spirits, is some of the base game, there's, like, a right way to play the spirit, and if, like, I need to get to this part of the track before I can start going to energy.
Yeah.
But with these, I feel like there's more flexibility.
Right. Like, for instance, with Shadows, there is a right way to play him.
There's one way.
Or there's a wrong way to play him. With Downpour, there is a different way to play him. See the difference? One's right, one's wrong, one's different. So, like, which is better? You know, I personally like this one. Because, like you said, John, I like choices.
Me too.
So I feel as if that's more freedom to the player, and I think that's a more well-designed and more balanced character, is one that can do different things, as opposed to people that are kind of restricted into one lane. When we get to our tier list, you'll notice that a lot of the people in my list that are lower on the list are those characters who are defined on rails, so to speak. So they're like a train. They can only go where the track is, versus a car, which can go anywhere. The people that can go anywhere, multiple choices, I like it. But in the same way that Downpour has like an element track, and he can use it just in such a variety of ways.
It's so fun.
Love it.
You had one big turn, I just want to mention, where you removed 4 blights in one slow phase or something.
That was one of the cheating times.
Oh, you used
No, I had a card.
You had a
I had a card to
You were
remove
not cheating.
blight.
You were not cheating.
Well, for one of them,
I
actually have
destroyed
something
my
very
presence. But yes,
similar.
I did spam a blight removal card, and we were about to blight the island, but in the fast phase, I was able to hit that 3 times.
And it's so cool to find a thing that maybe, like, it's really nice, but it's, like, small in portion. So, like, maybe 2 fear. That's, like, a small portioned good thing to the team. Removing a blight, that's a small portioned good thing to the team. But then Downpour can come in and just repeat that thing. So instead of being a small portioned good thing, it's that 6 times, or, well, not 6 times, up to 5 times. But you know what I mean. Like, 2 fear, rain of blood. Let's just get some fear. And it's thematically appropriate to repeat that one. 2 fear, 4 fear, 5 fear, 6 fear, 10 fear, whatever. And then the removing blight, remove 1 blight, 2 blight, 3 blight, 4 blight, 5 blight. Like, it's just these copies. It's so much fun.
Yes.
So, oh goodness, I remember when I did my Downpour game. It was actually my second game, because obviously on my hype list Downpour was 2, so it was my second game. And I was playing with 2 new people who had never played Spirit On before, and the other people that I was playing with was a husband and wife. He played as Earth, she played as River, and this was actually a fantastic 3-player team with River, Downpour, and Earth. So one thing I wanted to say right off the bat, though, was one of the things I mentioned in episode 7 with Downpour was the fact that if you have Downpour on a team with Finder, you can have what I nicknamed Team Medbay, which was Downpour can get you one of your destroyed presents back, and then Finder can go and move it back to where your presence was. technically that is still true, and that's something that can still happen. However, I was really underselling the mobility that Downpour has. The amazing, wonderful mobility that Downpour has. Why? Yes, although Finder can go and move your other buddy's presence back to where it was, Downpour can simply just fly over there, make it a wetland, drop off the presence, and fly out of there. Mm-hmm. You can move 3 presents with this dude, one of which is from a growth option, 2 of which is just from his tracks. So you can just go bleep bloop and just fly over there and be like, here's your stuff, buddy. Drop their presents back. All right, buddy. Later. Yoom. And just fly away. Goodbye. So yes, you can have Finder assist with that if you want, but you just need...
Sounds like Finder's S tier. Is that what you're Can't wait for my tier list.
I don't know. This guy also kind of sounds S tier. That's all right. Anyway, but this guy is a really good healer. You know, he can really help the team as far as the fact that, hey man, I lost some of my presents. Oh no. Well, don't worry, fam. I can go over there. Not only can I go and get your presents back, and I can even give you energy or let you repeat power cards, but I can even go to the spot where it was and drop it off for you. And heck, hey, did you like where it was? I'd rather go over there. Cool. Just talk with your buddy. Where would you like me to drop it off at? I want it to go over there. Okay, I'll just fly over there, drop it off. Because you can move sacred sites, which is insane. Mm-hmm. That's something that I really like. So his mobility was something I undersold when I was talking about it. I just didn't realize it at the time. But now that I saw it in practice, it was great. So you only need Downpour for that strategy, but it's pretty dope. Ironically, what I did on my very first turn, I did growth option 2 right off the bat.
Yes. I like that tactic, actually.
So it's funny because I don't think any spirit ever uses their very first option on turn 1. Why would you? The reclaim option 1? No one ever does it. So it's always ever 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. Some people would do 3 because it's not as aggressive and it doesn't make you discard power cards.
Build your hand.
And since you start off with 4 power cards, to do the second one means you have to discard 2, which means that you must, pretty much, go and reclaim on your first one. Well, I didn't actually mind that so bad because I did the card Dark Skies Loose a Stinging Rain. What I did is I actually copied that one and did it twice. On my very first turn, I was repeating cards already. And
Remind me of the effects.
That was the card that says, from range 1 of a wetland, isolate target land, then you can push up to 1 Explore and up to 2 Dahan. So what I did was from game start, the initial Explorers, I immediately push, get out of this land, so that way they would go and build. So it was definitely something that you don't have to do, but I thought it was kind of funny how they said, you know, you can use your second growth option for a burst turn, and here I am right out the gate. just right out the gate. So one thing that I did though was I feel as if I could do this guy a little bit better. I kind of want to do him again. When I'm done with my list of people, I want to get to this guy again.
Pretty quickly
because I feel as if I could have done him better. I went down the mobility route first, believe it or not. I actually went down the card play track before I went and did the element track. I think it may have been more successful if I did a little bit better job balancing the two, because I really think I should have focused on his second innate, which has the plant element in there. Mm-hmm. And on the top track, you can actually get access to a plant element, but I didn't get there for a long time. But the reason why I went mobility is because the very first card that I picked up when I gained new power cards was a minor power card called Steam Vents, which, as you know, is a wonderful card that is fast, costs 1 energy, and it says you just kill an explorer. And if you have 3 earth, you can actually kill a town. But what's really nice is that it's in the fast phase, killed an explorer, which means it's perfect for a lone explorer who's about to build something. And so the only caveat, though, is that yes, it's cheap, yes, it's fast, but it has to be in a land that you are in. It is range 0. Usually, I don't really use this card because it's only in a land that I am in. Well, this guy can be so mobile that what I did was I would repeat that card twice all the time.
Prevent builds?
All the time. And so in a land that I am in, I can move. Mm-hmm. So I just move over, bink, bink, 2 guys. Move over, bink, bink, 2 guys. Move over, bink, bink. So I don't really mind the fact that I did mobility first because I had a card that let me take advantage of that mobility and use it to great effect. Why? Because that was 2 less builds that were happening every time I repeated Steam Vents. And every time I did, like I said, I just moved over. Like, just flew over there. Kind of like a Spitfire, just getting rid of these little explorers. I wish it gave me fear for doing that, but hey, preventing a build from a single explorer is so nice. Because have you ever prevented something and then the next turn you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy of my past self for doing that. That was so great.
Because the land's empty.
Yes.
You're like, oh, why is this jungle empty? Oh, I stopped
when you
it.
when you completely clear a land on the build phase, and oh no, where are they going to ravage? I already cleared that spot a turn ago. Oh, I love that feeling. You have some time to prepare for a next thing. That way you're like, okay, this turn I need to go and maybe reclaim and kind of gather my strength. So this is going to be a pretty lame turn for me. And,
or shove some Dahan around.
I need a minute. I need a minute to regather and recoup. Yeah. And hey, look, I bought myself some time with her. Yes, now would be a perfect time to do that. Using the mobility and Steam Vents, that combo of mobility and Steam Vents worked perfectly, especially with the fact that I can repeat them.
In my early games, just playing Spirit Island in general, you would told me something that I'd never forgotten. I think it actually helped me and Laura as better players, where don't be reactive, you have to be proactive at this game. If you're only reacting to where they're about to ravage, or if you're scrambling, you're not going to win the game. If you're proactively, like you're saying, killing off explorers, cutting the snake at the head, you're going to win the game.
I don't think there's a lot of characters that can perfectly react to everything that's happening. You're going to have to let some slide, and you have to do like a half and half. Some hold down of what is happening, and the other half is thwarting what's about to come. The only people that might be able to do it really well, Earth can, because if he copies his own cards of Year of Perfect Stillness, maybe. Many Minds is really good, I think, at like holding people down.
And
but like
very
you said,
fast spirit.
But that's
they're
very
mobile and high defense.
But that's very hard to do, and I feel as if it requires you to be really, really ace on.
And it gets old because soon that land's going to build again, and unless you got the Dahan there, you really
stalling
didn't do
is really
much.
important, but stalling prolongs a problem and doesn't fix it.
I feel like it wasn't until Jagged Earth that I really started understanding that, because I was finally okay with Blight. Those not blighted island cards really help out because you're like, I don't know what it's going to be, but it might be something decently good. So, okay, that's going to blight and that's going to blight, but I'm setting up to do a cool thing later on. So it's fine.
So, I love the mobility and Steam Vents. Before, Steam Vents was a card that I don't usually use unless I'm a mobile spirit, kind of like maybe Thunder Speaker or maybe Fangs.
Yeah, zero range cards aren't my favorite.
Right, and like that'd be a terrible card if you're Volcano or something.
Right.
But you're right, that's a great one for Downpour.
So, and that was my first card, literally my first card. I thought that was a really lucky pull. I was like, oh yeah, love it. That was a great one. One thing that was so great though was that team that I was on, because I was on River and Earth's team. And River and Downpour worked so well together in this game. And yes, they were water spirits. We talked about how Downpour will play well with each of the water spirits in various ways. And in the exact same way that we theorized Downpour would play well with River, in this game, it happened. Why? Because I would have a sacred site on a land that was like a mountain, but it counts as a wetland. So River, she was able to kind of worm her way in there and she's like, hey, it's a sacred site now, and now her cards were able to be played from there. It was fantastic. Furthermore, our River player, she had never ever played before, so it was her first game, so she blighted a few times and lost some presents. And I said, hey, don't worry about it because I can get you back. Not only can it get you back, but I can put you back in one of my lands. And guess what? Since I have sacred sites all over this place, I was able to go make a sacred site for her and drop off her presents in a mountain that I had a sacred site in, so it's a wetland. So she was able to get all of her cards or innate power that requires sacred sites to be cast, and so it was just a fantastic combo throughout the game. I actually healed River several times, at least twice and 3 times. Nice. I healed myself once because I got offed helping another player with something. However, another thing that was so great was Earth, because Earth also allows for people to repeat cards, and I was repeating cards on my own anyway. So there were times where I did Gift of Abundance twice on a thing,
nice.
Which I can't quite remember every time I did it, but one time I used it for energy just because like I need energy, which is really helpful. But when you have someone that replays powers as their main shtick anyway, and then you have someone else who also stacks replaying powers on the side,
that's a stack
we
team.
were replaying stuff all the time because River was control, I was doing whatever we needed, and then Earth was allowing us to do whatever those simple basics that we found over and over and over and over and over again. It was great. One thing that was hilarious though was like about 10-20 minutes ago, Laura was saying how she was able to remove a lot of blight from the game because she repeated.
But you were able to.
Right, with a blight removal card. In our game, I also did that. We were playing a game where we had a lot of blight. It was their first time. They were having fun. We didn't have a blight card because it was their first time. I kind of wanted to do an easier experience with them. But we had some blight on the board, and as a player of the game, I'm like, that's a lot more blight than I'd like. So what was cool, though, and thematically appropriate, was I found a card called Renewing Rain, which allows you to remove blight from a jungle or a sand. And so what was cool is it's a very cheap card and removes a blight. Then if you have 3 plant elements, you can add a wilds token. But what happened was I played this card, and then I repeated it 3 times, which means I played that card 4 times, removing 4 blight in 1 turn. And then at the end of my turn, what I did is I did Water Nourishes Life's Growth, and I removed a 5th blight from removing my presence from a spot. It was near the end of the game, so that was 5 presents in a single turn. It was really weird just to be this vacuum cleaner, just
cleaning everything up.
Just getting everything. I just felt kind of like a dog when maybe on your dinner table you smack something off or you bump something and like it falls on the ground and all the crumbs are on the ground. Your dog's like, I got it! And it's like, and just like grabs everything.
Downpour's the dog.
I know, I was just like swooping in. But it was so perfect though for a brand new pair of people that had never played the game before who were blighting a little bit more and getting their presents killed because A, I was able to get their presents back and into an advantageous spot, but I was also able just to completely fill that.
I wonder if Downpour is a good spirit to play play then, if you're playing with amongst new people. Kind of like
I
how
think
green is, like Spread Rampant Green
Right.
is helping someone else grow faster.
Right, but this
improving
felt...
their experience.
Yeah.
Right, but like I said, I was able to get presents back on the board when they had it destroyed, and I was able to clean up so much blight. And that's something he can do. Sure, if I found a damage card, I could maybe repeat damage, or if I found a fear card, I could repeat fear. But what did we need? We needed healing, and we needed presence restoration. So I healed blight, and I restored the presence. It was exactly what we needed, and it was really cool. And that was my experience with Downpour, and I had a lot of fun. Great spirit. Easily, for my first impressions, easy A tier, might even be S tier.
Quick thoughts, just to the room. Do we think that this is a high complexity spirit? I don't know.
Honestly, I didn't really think so.
It wasn't like a brain burner or something.
No, it wasn't.
or-
Like, I understand.
I'd say moderate.
Honestly, I would lean towards
the
moderate.
movement?
Maybe the movement, but I don't think that's so hard. Personally. I mean, that's just my opinion, of
I-
course, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who decides what is
Right.
moderate and what is high. But yeah,
Even the
I
special
honestly...
rules aren't that difficult. Like, either you repeat or you get money for 2 water. That's
Right.
not the hardest. Or,
Right,
and the
once,
wetland.
Once you've played a few games of Spirit Island, I feel as if these concepts aren't super high. You know?
I
Like
think
you
this
said,
would
I
definitely
agree.
be someone, like, we have a couple of friends who have now played like 3 times, 4 times, and moving them out of the low complexity spirits. I think this would be an excellent one to give them. It's fun. You're doing a lot. You're not just like stuck in one place. It opens you up to a lot more
Right.
bigger
Now,
experience.
Fractured Days, Starlight being very high, Finder very high.
Makes sense.
I get it.
That makes sense to me.
That makes sense to me. Shroud of Silent Mist being high, I could understand.
I wonder if it's just all the movement.
It might be the
I
movement.
think Miss
Maybe.
special rule of like targeting and then gathering that
I could see that
that's a
being
little
high.
tricky.
Downpour, though, I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think I would have a petition to change Downpour to moderate and to change Many Minds to high.
Many Minds is a lot of movement.
But
It's
anyway,
a lot going on.
My game.
let's hear it.
Has anyone seen Oh Brother Where Art Thou?
That is literally on my list.
You've never seen it?
I haven't,
it.
but it's
Watch
on my
it tonight.
list.
Watch it tonight.
Watch it
I have
tonight,
it on
right
my
now.
list.
Do you know any of the songs?
I don't.
Oh man, there's this one great one.
Well,
Like,
let me take that back. Maybe a famous song that I've heard of, and perhaps...
I am a man of
Oh, yeah, I've
constant
heard-
sorrow.
That's from that movie?
That's from that movie.
Okay, there you go. So I have heard maybe a song or two. I just didn't know it came from there. So
Well, it was like Grammy-winning soundtrack back
Yeah,
in
but I
like
don't really-
2000 when it came out.
I feel like it kind of went under the radar for a lot of people, that movie. Or maybe
The
it was
movie might
bigger.
have, but like the soundtrack.
Oh,
got
no, the
pretty big
soundtrack.
because it's like all this like Appalachian folk style music.
It's based on the Odyssey.
it's Appalachian, but
I like
no,
Appalachian.
I'm leaving
it actually is Appalachian or Appalachian. The Webster's Dictionary says that both are viable.
Oh, well then there you go.
It's just
Nice.
Appalachian is a southern more style to say, and most northerners say Appalachian.
I
That's
went
like
to school in the South. I picked up some things, y'all.
Southern
Take some things from the
Dixieland.
South.
Appalachian.
Wait, how this all ties in?
All right, yeah,
That-
back to Spirit Island.
That band in the movie
Oh,
is
in the
called
movie.
the Soggy Bottom Boys.
The soggy bottom.
So one day,
It's a
Lauren.
group of toddlers with diapers.
Oh.
No.
Does it have to be? I mean, diapers, yeah, but who said they had to be young? Ah!
It's a bunch of geriatric.
Yeah.
Spirit Island.
It's all diapers. Sometimes we like coming up with things, so we did river, ocean, and downpour.
Water team.
So that was the Soggy Bottom Spirit team that we came up with. And like you were saying, Ryan, there's just so much synergy there, which is really cool.
Team Water flows, pun intended, together really well.
Yeah, so
well.
being able to make sacred sites, like you're saying, for river, so river gets stronger and able to reach the ocean with those extra sacred sites, was just a really nice combo. One thing I found, because we've all just like touched a lot, there was one turn where I didn't have any card plays, but I still was able to trigger my innate, and that was so awesome. Because I finally got to that air, so I triggered rain and mud suppress conflict.
Oh, because you had upgraded your element track, your energy track so much that you're able to trigger your innates because of how many elements are on the track.
I played no cards that round, and just I everywhere I was in, defend
That's
one
crazy.
per. And again,
That's crazy.
we're talking about stall and delay. Sometimes
Right.
Downpour can get that.
Yeah, I did every now and then when I was defending a lot and I was negating Dahan counterattack damage. I was like, man, I really feel bad about this Dahan counterattack damage that I keep negating, because usually when I defend, I can defend and the Dahan can counterattack for me. And I really like that. There's like a specific satisfaction with defending and then having Dahan be your sword.
Yeah.
That's like the sword and shield build. And so I really like how fast and how consistently you can get defense out there with Downpour Drench of the World. But I was like, oh man, I am kind of missing out on this counterattack
I
stuff.
guess that's why Badlands could be really useful if there's
Maybe.
like a Badlands spirit spirit with Downpour.
There you
Because
go.
in that one, even if one damage gets through, there's a Badlands, you can still take out the town.
Yeah, so maybe there's some cool plays in there still.
Definitely some synergy, but it was very cool to trigger something, defense, and just kind of stall.
Yeah.
Because there is this, like, I don't want to say loophole, but I was considering this. The second growth option we're all talking about, you get to place 2 presents, you gain 2 water, but you have to discard 2 cards.
Uh-huh.
So I was thinking, and I had to look this up on the question.
Fact check it.
For Spirit Islands, like, I only had 1 card left.
Yeah.
So it says, can you take the second growth option for Downpour if you only have 0 or 1 power cards? The answer is yes.
Oh.
Discarding 2 cards is not listed as a requirement or cost, but as a growth effect. You must perform that effect to the extent possible. In this case,
As best you can.
As best you can. You would be left with 0 cards. So
I actually did not know that. Thank you for that. That's actually really good.
The only reason I knew it because I had 1 card left in my hand, but I really wanted
it came
to place
up.
that extra presence.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, because I wanted to get to that purple, that air. So I discarded my last card and played no cards that round, but was able to defend, stall until next round where I was gaining energy and money and stuff. So that was just like the big thing that happened that game. I think on the last podcast, because we talked about your miss game, I picked up Savage Transformation, which is like one of the worst, in my mind, one of the least powerful majors. But when you're repeating it 3 times, you're making all these beast tokens as we were playing with mines and taking out explorers. I think it's like 2 fear, you exchange an explorer for a beast token. So just like, oh, this is kind of a lame major. This is one I always typically forget or discard. But
I still love that card though.
And it's cheap, which was perfect for Downpour because I'm guessing none of us here, non to late game, you really start going after majors for Downpour. You're trying to save that money and you can make...
I don't really go for majors early. That's more like you said, a late game thing. Maybe if I'm playing Shifting Memory, I will go into an early major grab, but yeah, I agree with you.
And one of the fun things about Downpour is that you can repeat, and if it's an expensive major, maybe you can save up the money to play it once, but you only get like, that 1 or 2 card plays, so
but if you
getting something that's major but small major.
Yeah, like a Savage Transformation, or like everyone's been saying, like blight removal cards, anything from the minor power, if you do it times 3, that becomes a major in my mind.
Right.
So it was a very fun spirit to play. I think out of all of them, this is one of the most like untapped potentials. Yeah. Because there's just so many different ways to play it, so many different ways on the track, and so many repeating that just like that can get silly if you repeat a card 3 times. Yeah. So yeah, love the spirit. Great design.
Seriously, as we wrap up Downpour, easily one of the better spirits in Jagged Earth, in my personal opinion. I think that Downpour was so much more fun than I thought, like in practice. It was so intoxicating. I love Downpour. Easily one of the ones I would get back to. Probably a top 10 spirit.
Okay.
Out of 24, I would say top 10. This is such a great character. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, next up is Lure of Deep Wilderness.
Yes, this is a fun one.
He is, oh my word.
Is it?
We had... So, a thing people at home might start to notice, and we just talked about this, I like theming, synergizing my teams. So we did our water peeps, and we've talked about the Hellstone and Fire, or Brimstone, what's it called?
Oh yeah, the Hellfire and Brimstone.
Hellfire, Brimstone.
Team. Really quick though, this is complete curiosity. Curiosity. John and I talked about having a 4-player team of Team Water. And we theorized that, by the way, for clarification, Team Water is Downpour, Mist, Ocean, River. And John and I theorized that if we were to do a 4-player game with Team Water, that Laura would love to play Ocean on that team.
Love me some Ocean.
So if I didn't, we were thinking I would probably play Mist, John would probably play Downpour, and we called that you would probably want to play Ocean. Are we correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Though I love me some River, though.
Yeah. Oh, love River. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No worries. So we did the Beastie Boys.
Hey.
Just from the band of like, here's a little story you got to tell about 3 bad brothers you know so well. For those 90s raps at all.
Would that be Many Minds, Sharp Fangs, and Lure?
And...
Trickster?
Trickster!
Yay!
I know Trickster's just like, but Trickster can sprout.
Use a few beasts.
Use some beasts. There's basically 1 card.
Unexpected Tigers.
Yeah, it's one of the best names ever.
Just, oh my!
What?
There's a tiger.
Closet?
Well, they're there.
Like, wait, what?
So that was our team, and I don't know, we should have counted how many Beastie Boys, beasts ended up.
I think we ran out.
Did you really? Out of tokens?
So we have 3D printed ones that we got on Etsy. So
you know what? You sent me a picture of how many tokens were on the board.
So we had to crack out the cardboard ones.
It was many lots.
Many
I
lots.
actually saved it. I'll go and post it on the Facebook.
That's a good one.
I'll write it down
I think it might have been Snapchat, so I'm glad you
First
saved
one to
it.
count them and tell us wins nothing.
That will be me. Oh.
A Snapple?
Hey!
You buy those. Rate
Oh.
that game!
Anyway,
Back to Lure.
Ryan, we've been talking just about behind the scenes stuff. Obviously, we talk about this game a lot.
Yeah.
Anyone with city manipulation is very powerful.
it's huge.
Which keeps lightning higher up, because people sometimes want
And Finder.
The
The
birds, the praise. Anyone that can handle a city, river struggles unless near the coast.
Sure. Yeah. Because that's where she gets bonus damage.
Exactly. So there's just times if you are able to gather in a whole city, we talked about that's crazy.
Dude, it's so weird because, well, cities are supposed to be this big threat, you know? They're immovable, they're high health, they're really damaging, they're like this big tough thing, and then you just be like, no.
Just kidding. I'm gathering you in.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to talk like our games. My first game was actually Laura playing Lure, and she gathered a city, and I forgot that Lure did that. And I was just like...
He thought I was wrong again.
That was a mistake.
So I had to check the innate power for society to chase after dreams. What a name. But it was just so cool to see that city move and just get lured into this wildernessy place.
Right.
I thought...
Technically, it breaks down and then it gets pulled, but same difference.
It's moved. Mechanically, it gets lured in.
I know what you mean.
But it was just very easy to do damage because there's so many extra tokens on the board when we did that team.
And like you said, you had Trickster on the field.
There was so
much.
much.
You had many mines on the field. You had Sharp Fangs. There's beasts everywhere.
So Swallowed by Wilderness just becomes so strong.
Yeah.
1 damage per token, basically.
Right.
Maxes out at 5, but when I was playing this, it was just getting like 5 damage. 5 damage.
Right.
5 damage.
It was basically fast power, though.
Fast power, and it was basically a major. I mean, Talons of Lightning is 5 damage.
Right.
And that is a 6 energy. This was a 1 energy card.
Right.
I was able to spam because I almost got into a reclaim loop. You gotta be careful with the growth because I went bottom track heavy.
Did you? Okay.
So I wasn't getting as many elements. It's one of those things you were talking about where I want more playthroughs just to see the different styles.
Yeah.
Because I was playing 4 cards over and over again, but because I was doing that, I had to keep reclaiming. So it was kind of stunting growth, and I wasn't triggering as much. I know there is that second growth option to gain an element, but I feel like I could have played it differently, may have been a stronger thing. But just in itself, it was a fun game of all these beast tokens, and then Lure gathering everything in and just doing this like earthquake of damage.
Yeah, it's insane. And the thing that's so great, though, when you are playing with other token users is that this guy is so flexible with token users. That's one of the things we talked about with the whole jack of all trades approach that this guy has. It's because you have someone else who's using tokens, perhaps. You can be like, hey, you're using that token too? Same here, bro. And you can go and take advantage of their tokens that they're using for themselves. So not only are they benefiting from it, but you can benefit from it as well, because that card that you said can do damage with all of these tokens. It's
so great.
Perfect.
When I first read about this spirit, heard about the spirit we talked about in the hype list, I worried it was going to be like Ocean, and that scared me.
Yeah.
I really, I'm not good at...
It's so not the case with this guy.
It's not, and I'm just not good with Ocean, and I love when Laura plays Ocean, but there isn't as many limitations, I'll say, that I originally thought.
Ocean has more limitations, I think.
Much. And even if, yes, Lure can't go to the coast, but since you are bringing things in, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So that was my gaming experience. It was just so cool having all these tokens on the board.
Oh, I know.
And
it feels so cool. You're setting up like this depot.
And
you know what
Badlands too. So that 5 damage was actually like being...
Right, it can actually be more than that. Because of Badlands.
Because Lure's spitting out Badlands. So it was a really fun game. Just one I won't forget of just those theme games and all these beasts attacking and scaring off the invaders with this army.
It's really different. And Softly Beckon Ever Inward, you feel so cool when you like play that one and just everyone just gets pulled in and you're like, oh, were you about to ravage? Were you over there, Mr. Explorer, about to build? Nope. You can just... I love it.
So that was my game.
I did not like it as much.
This is actually going to be a uniquely, I'm not going to say controversial opinion, but I'm actually really curious to hear about this because a lot of people think that this guy is like crazy. So I'm really curious to hear about this.
I see on the Reddits, everybody's like, we love Lure. And I'm like, I did not.
So talk about that.
Lure's been called Best Boy on the Reddits.
Best Boy.
Boy.
B-O-I-I-I-I. Boy. Really?
I love the internet.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. No, I think I was also very soon into the Jagged Earth expansion.
Okay.
And like we've talked about, me and Badlands did not understand each other.
I gave you the player 8 card.
What was I going to do with that?
Read it! The directions on the card!
I don't know. I don't know what it was about Badlands. I was like, I don't know and I don't want to find out. I was like, it's
Creature
weird.
of habit.
I'm also really bad at strategy. Like,
I think you're doing just fine. Anyway, it's all new. It's understandable.
no, but
always
like
new.
with everything being so slow, it
Yeah,
would be
everything's
like
slow with this guy
you
except
had
for one
to
card.
think ahead and think through, that what's gonna build, so what's going to be there, so where can I move all of my things? Because I can't just, unless I pick up a defense card, I ain't got none.
Right.
So
Right.
that's just not my real play style. And then I think, with all of the tokens out there, sometimes when it gets all cluttered with tokens, my brain just kind of, wait,
Overwhelmed.
what?
Very
And
busy.
You even look at his little board thing, and it's very busy, which is great, but
Right.
it's just kind of like, whoa. And then all of this, like, if this, then that, then shove, then voodoo.
Right.
And you're like, oh my goodness gracious.
Right.
So, I need to give Lura another chance. I'm not
Do you
going to say
think-
he's awful. He's obviously very well thought out and very good.
Yeah.
It wasn't my style.
Yeah.
But I need to try it again.
Would you think that if you played him again, now that you have a better understanding of like more Jagged Earth concepts, like for instance the Badlands situation, would you say that you'd probably play him a little bit better
Definitely.
or be more successful? I mean,
Definitely. And we've already talked about, like, my play style is don't learn the strategy first, just kind of see what happens. And that often doesn't go well when you're doing something that needs more strategy rather than just, like, smacking stuff. So
alrighty.
I think that was it. How was your experience with him, Ryan?
Well, I can now cast aside the facade that I've been putting over myself for the past 10 minutes. Oh my gosh, this dude is insane! Who play tested this guy? What the heck? This guy is OP!
Nice poker face, Ryan.
We're playing
my
him today, and I'm going to play him again because so help me.
So, of the people that I've played as, one of the fun things I've been doing is I have like these first impressions of where they are in a tier list. Okay, this guy is definitely at least A tier. This guy's definitely this. Easy S tier. I don't even care. Yes, I know that every spirit can be played poorly or whatever. Holy cow! Maybe it's because I play green all the time and he's my main. He has like some similarities to green. I was able to do him a lot better. I had a cleared board on turn 4.
You're kidding.
Turn 4 clear board. What the heck? John, you were there. You're actually in that game.
Against Russia adversary. We were playing against an adversary, too.
So Lure is... I was not expecting this. Like, you know how before when we looked at the base game and you were introduced to Spirit Island, you're like, I wonder who the powerful guys are. Well, the ocean sounds like he could be a powerful guy because, like, the ocean is, like, strong. It's everywhere. You know, maybe the rock giant. Rock giants are strong and, you know, that's true and whatever.
Yeah.
But to me, the strongest character from that I was the most successful with was the little bush. was green. And so in the same way, I looked at Lure, I was like, oh yeah, pretty cool. Then he comes in here, he just completely dominates the field. So why in the world was this guy so crazy? So first off, we went up against Russia, and one of the things that I think helped us was, yes, we only did Russia level 1, so we had them at level 1 with their base difficulty, so it's not the most tough version of Russia out there.
Russia's
I understand
tough, though,
that.
just in
I
general.
understand that, but the thing was, it
All
was
those
my
little
very
tours.
first game as Lure. It was my brother's very first game as Vengeance. It was a 3-player game. Sorry, it was a 3-player game between Vengeance, Trickster, that was you, and me as Lure.
I was not invited.
And so
You were
this
working late.
This was the day you were grading papers. So anyway, so we had this 3-player game against Russia, and we negated them so badly, so efficiently, that I didn't even remember that it was Russia. I honestly thought that it was just a nameless... I was like, oh yeah, Russians were here? Oh, sorry. Like, the thing was, is like all the Russians like start to land on Spirit Island. We have come here to subjugate Spirit Island under the Tsar and for the Rodina. And then Lure of Deep Wilderness is right behind them in the bushes, just sneaks up behind him and is like, Privyet. Okay, need I say more with this following statement? Even Russians were scared of Lure. Enough said. Like, what the heck?
Like the biggest counter pick.
So, oh my goodness. I mean, we were talking about rock, paper, scissors. Lure countered Russia so hard, and Trickster countered Russia so hard. Why? Because Lure gets to straight up ignore explorers.
Well, that's the big thing about Russia.
And
They're
Russia,
explorer.
Russia has upgraded explorers. And we were at first like, oh no, Russia, they hunt beasts and stuff. And we have a beast user, and I'm a beast user. Oh no,
I
this
know.
might be bad. And we're like, yeah, no. Because I was able to ignore them. But Trickster was able to go and strafe a lot of them. And guess what? Russia's explorers do extra damage.
Yeah, that's tough.
Guess what? Doesn't matter if they're strifed, because you were just like strife, which blocks all the damage that one guy does. So you were strifing people who would usually do 2 damage, even though they're exploring. You're like, haha, nope. And I was sitting there just gathering them all in, and I was just going and ignoring them. So the defense was really weird because, yes, there is no defend cards, but the thing is so long as they're explorers, you literally ignore them. It's so weird. It's a defense not in the form of defend cards, but it's defense in the fact that you just don't exist. Literally, you do exist. But, they're in trance. They're like that whole, they've been
comatose.
Charmed. Yeah, they've been charmed, that whole thing. So, in our 3-player game, we had a fear card on turn 1. It was ridiculous.
That's very difficult.
Turn 1? We had a fear card? Because I know we had Vengeance, and he was generating some fear, and you had played a card or something that got us fear, but Lure was surprisingly scary, too.
That was my biggest worry about Lure.
I was like,
generating enough fear.
This guy is really scary for someone who's like a defender, controller, and a tech. He has his finger in a lot of pies, which is one of the reasons why he was rated so high on my hype list. But it was so weird. Turn 1 fear card. I cleared my board by turn 4. And I didn't have any assistance, guys. No. John didn't help me. Peter didn't help me. John went over to go and help Peter because he was doing stuff with Vengeance. And they were doing some stuff. I was just by myself. Cleared my board by turn 4. It was ridiculous. And I didn't have any help. And I think this guy might be able to be just a beast in solo play. I would love to play this guy in solo. He'd be like, and we're done.
I think this is the most independent spirits.
Honestly, yeah. Seriously. There were so many things I thought might be an issue or might be a problem with this guy, and it really wasn't. The problem with this guy as far as balance was, I feel as if every time there was meant to be an intended flaw with the spirit that the player has to find a way to work around, was already covered somehow by another thing that he does. So, okay, dude, I had this one big play on turn 5. It was ridiculous.
You took pictures of this.
I did have pictures of this, and this game that I'm speaking of, by the way, our Lure game, was documented. So it's on our Facebook page if you want to go and check it out. I had this one crazy turn on turn 5 where my brother had a ton of people on this one land, and it was blighted, and it had 6 explorers, 7 explorers, and it had 2 towns in there.
Laura and I have a phrase where it's just push into the problem sites.
Yeah.
It's we'll deal with that.
Just make that one. It can blight.
Commit to the chaos.
Yeah.
You have one that you commit to being awful so that the rest can breathe free.
The
blood of our people are your lands kept safe. Our 9th Lord of the Rings reference.
9!
And it won't be the last. So, anyway, so he had this problem spot. Not that he was he had plans. He was dealing with it.
Sure.
It was blighted, so that means that with Vengeance, he can do bonus damage there. He was getting to it, but I'm like, I have nothing else to do. I have a clear board, and that was the closest spot. You know what? I'm just going to go over there and start setting up shop. So, in a single turn, with 1 presence, I went over there with 1 presence because I could grow up at range 4.
Insane.
It was an inland land within range 4, so I just went over there. I was able to gather a bunch of people in. Luckily, we did get fortunate with a fear card that gathered a bunch of people. It was a card that let us gather explorers and towns, and so it was one of those ones where each player chooses a land, and then you can gather stuff.
Didn't we keep choosing that land?
So what we did was we did that domino effect.
Oh, right.
Where we funneled, I picked one, then Peter picked the one adjacent to that one, so they kind of did this domino effect, so we funneled a lot of people in there. So then, when we were done with the fear card, I had done a power which gathered, I did the one that broke down people and pulled them in, forsake society to chase after dreams. So I broke down a town and brought in some explorers that were from that town, and so by the end of all of those powers, there were 14 explorers, 1 town, 5 beasts, and 2 badlands, and a wilds token in the same land. 14 explorers, 1 town. That's 15 people. And then in 1 turn, boop, all gone.
Wow.
Killed all of them.
That's insane.
In a single turn. Here's the problem, guys. That was way too easy. It didn't require a whole lot of energy. It didn't require me to have a sacred site.
It didn't require a major power that you picked up.
No, it was just my nates. Your nates are so friggin' strong with this guy. Oh my gosh. And like I said, it was fun. It was satisfying, but I'm like, who play tested this guy?
Who cares? Release.
Seriously. I mean, did I just get the perfect star aligning combinations of stuff?
Well, like you said, we had the fear card help, and...
Right, but the capability to do that was just so easy. That was a 1-turn thing. It wasn't a, let me plan for this. You know what? I think I have this cool 3-turn plan that could result in some cool things. It was, hey, where do you have trouble? You have trouble over there? Let me go there. Let me do all this. Hey, the fear card made it a little bit more lucrative, perhaps, but at the end of the turn of the slow phase, all dead. Yes, he had some disease that he spit, so it was maybe combining the fact that since he combines well with other token users, maybe this lethality was achieved because of a good team build. Maybe that could be it, but it seemed so cheesy. So crazy. And so we had a turn 7 Terror 2 victory.
It was crazy.
For me, Terror 3 victories are the most common. Terror 2 victories are less common. Fear victories are even less common. And I myself have personally never gotten a Terror level 1 victory. But that's, for now. So if I think that this guy is ridiculously strong, dare I say OP, why do I think he's OP? Well, the problem is that Lure can do a lot of things that other people can, but he can do them simply better. So, I felt as if Lure had Shadow's downgrading, but I had Lightning's offense, but I had Finder's range.
Yeah.
Because I can downgrade much faster and better than Shadows. Oh, and I get to move people when I do it instead of just they have to stay still. And I don't even have to be there. I can just be like, hey, that guy over there, come in. Woohoo! Then Lightning's offense, he has to reclaim loot to do stuff. I'm just like, that city's dead. It's explorers now, and they're ignored. They're gone. And then later I can kill him. Oh, there's a town over there. Oh, hey, guess what? I can just do 5 damage, bam. And in a fast phase? Fast?
Yeah.
Really? Of all of his cards to be fast, the damage one is his fast one?
Very rare in Spirit Island.
Very uncommon. But hey, it's his only fast one, so I'll take it. But still, I was like, what? I'm killing people faster than Lightning did. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, Finder can go anywhere. And I'm like, wow, go to an inland land, range 4 away. I can go anywhere I wanted.
That's basically anywhere.
No, you can't go to coastal lands, but why bother? Because guess what? Forsake Society, Chase After Dreams can go into a coastal land. Because guess what? The target land isn't an inland land for that power. It just has invaders, which means it can be on a coastal land. So, hey, guess what happened to my city that was on the coast in land number 2? Break it down, pull in. Haha. Got it. So guess what? Remember how we were talking about how Ocean can't really go into his no-go zones unless
literally can't.
He finds cards to do so? Mm-hmm. This guy can go to his no-go zone just fine. He can go right up to the doorstep and be like, hey, pull people in and just yoink, grab people from the coast. So it's like, oh my word, this guy's supposed to be limited by the fact that he can't go to the coast. No problem. No flaw there. Also, another thing was my growth options. I thought I was going to be more handicapped with my growth options.
No, I like the growth.
Because they're option 1 or 2, then 3 or 4. So here's the awkward thing, guys. Option 3 is your MVP. Oh my gosh. It is a element spike and an energy spike. I never had energy problems. Not even once. So I never even bothered gaining a power until later on in the game. Option 3 was way too lucrative.
I think because the innates are some of, I would say, the strongest in the game.
The best innates out there, among the top innates in the game.
You always want to get elements to do it. So that's why I would say I would go more top track just to get those elements if I were to play Lure again.
So I talked about finding a sweet spot with everyone. I think with this guy, the sweet spot you want to do is when it comes in regards to reclaiming cards or adding a presence, because that is the one thing that you have to worry about. Hey, if I gain a presence, I don't get to reclaim cards. Or if I reclaim cards, I don't get to do a presence. For me, I set the formula of do presence once, twice, and then on the third, reclaim. Okay. So every 3 turns, reclaim. So it's going to be turn 1 and 2, presence. Turn 3, reclaim. 4 and 5, presence. 6, reclaim. 7, 8, presence. 9, reclaim. So every other 2, I guess, technically, you would be going and reclaiming. So on your third turns, that was my sweet spot because it allowed me to upgrade, then reclaim. Upgrade, reclaim. And like we said, this guy starts off with 3 presents out there, which means that he only has to upgrade 10 times. But he's so ridiculously efficient on his growth tracks that every single time that he upgrades, it is an improvement on something. There's no repeats on his track. So every time you're doing one of those upgrade, reclaim, upgrade, reclaim, whenever you do those 2 upgrades, whatever you're upgrading, it is getting better. So what I did was I alternated. This is one of the first times that I did 1 on the card play, then 1 on the top, then 1 on the card play, 1 on the energy. Just going bottom up, bottom up, bottom up. So I did it very equally. By the end of the game, like I said, turn 4, I'd cleared my board and we had won the game, and I was only halfway upgraded.
That's what's scary to me is we haven't even seen Lure's full potential.
I know. I didn't even get to the reclaim too.
You didn't get to any of the reclaims. You didn't get to 5 energy a turn. It was mid-game and we had already won.
Right. And
so we think it's already OP. We haven't even seen against a very difficult adversary where we're going to stage 3 and you're fully upgraded.
I didn't even really need to gain a new power card. Sure, late game when things were clear, I started to delve into more power cards.
You had the energy for it.
But here's the thing, though. What I did was I did option 2 and 3. Option 2 and 3, 2 and 3, then 1 and 3. Option 2 and 3, 2 and 3, 1 and 3. Option 2 and 3, 2 and 3. When I did so, I was always having enough energy because option 3 gives you an element that you need between moon, plant, and air, and it also gives you energy. So it gives you a spike of both. What I did first was I pulled from my card play, which let me get more cards, and more cards means more elements because the more cards that you play, the more elements that you can get a hold of. Then I was getting more elements from both cards that I had, and I was getting an element of my choice from option 3. So triggering my innates was pretty much never an issue. Sure, I could go and in later turns get higher tiers of my innates, but right from the game game start, I was going doo-be-doo-be-doo, triggering this innate, triggering that innate. And so, about these innates, one of the reasons why I think this guy's kind of OP, or like really strong, is because he has multi-action innates, multi-use innates. Some people have innates that they just do one thing. Like Ocean, just pound ships into splinters, just fear. That's literally all it does. And it's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good one.
You can get up to 4
like
fear.
Sharp Fangs has one called Ranging Hunt, which allows him to both move and do damage and then move again. Okay, that's starting to get a little bit more complicated. But most people, it's just they just do one thing. Maybe you can repeat it or whatever. But this thing does so much. So his first innate downgrades invaders, has invader control, gains fear, and can be repeated. His second one destroys explorers, damages people, places badlands, gains fear, and can be repeated. Like, what?
Yeah.
That is a lot of things that is all confided into just 2 innates. So if you were triggering 2 innates, that's 9 things I just said. Yeah, some of them are copies, but that's a bunch of stuff that you are doing with just 2 innates. You got invader manipulations as far as movement. You can cause fear in multiple cases when you move people, when you kill explorers. Killing explorers gets you fear. I'm sorry, wasn't that like a claim to fame that Shadows and Sharp Fangs had?
Yeah,
well, not anymore. This guy can do it too. This guy can place badlands and do bonus damage with them. He can just straight up destroy invaders. So if for some reason a explorer would have extra health and gone, just destroyed. It didn't say, damage them, it's just destroyed. My point being, these stuff do so much. Downgrading, damage, control, fear, and oh, by the way, after you place your badlands and do all this crap that I just described, let's do it again. Repeat!
Yeah.
Like, what?
What's interesting is Keeper, I think, is like the unanimous, like one of the strongest spirits, but Keeper takes time to get there. It's another slow spirit, and
it's not big right off the bat.
It's not big right off the bat, but you were saying you were triggering your innate because of that third growth option.
It was insane.
Very early in the game.
And I was spitting out wild tokens.
Yeah. I wonder if this, this spirit gets a little less if you're playing with no other token users and maybe takes more to build up your damage.
That's another reason why I want to try this guy again.
Yeah.
Because like I said, perhaps we played as him in the perfect incubated environment, which could be the case. Could be the case. A lot of people were saying, okay, well, if you think he's OP, what would you do to balance this guy to make him not so OP? Well, I would probably do option 3, make it a little bit worse. Don't give yourself as much energy because of it, because you get 2 energy from it and an element spike. So either maybe change which elements you gain or how much energy you gain, or you don't gain any.
Okay.
Or maybe you kind of just completely alter his growth options. So instead of picking 1 or 2, then 3 or 4, just do this as standard, just pick 1.
Okay.
Of 3. Maybe you can figure out a good balance there without having to gut the guy with his unique identity. Maybe have some cards and abilities that require sacred sites. Literally nothing this guy does requires a sacred site. That would force you to A, get more presence in a spot to ignore more invaders, which is something the player will want to do anyway, so you don't have to worry about breaking into a new strategy because players are probably already going to be making sacred sites anyhow, but it will force the player to make a plan and not be able to carry it out immediately and just destroy the board.
Yeah.
If it requires a sacred site, oh dude, okay, I'm going to start doing this. You see Earth being able to defend 3 with sacred sites. All right, I'm going to place 1 presence here, and right now that 1 presence doesn't do any defend, but don't worry, in a future turn, work on it some more and get defense. Cool, then when he does, hey, I got defend 3, I was working on this for several turns.
But that extra turn, those extra turns.
Right, it was something he earned. This one, like I said, 1 turn, bam, 14 explorers in a town, dead. Yeah. Got it. I just Cody just threw at range 4, which is really far. Just spat it really far. Here I am, buddy. Grab them all in. It was just like a implosion grenade. I threw it from far away, and when the grenade went off, everything got sucked in and died. Like, it was crazy.
It was cool to see.
Absolutely crazy. So I would probably do that, make some of his cards or abilities require sacred sites, and I wouldn't have him start off with 3 presents. I maybe start him off with 1 or 2, because then he's going to have to upgrade more in his tracks. Then make his tracks slightly more inefficient to balance him, have some repeats on there. Yes, I hate seeing that because I like seeing power, but this was almost too much to me. Like I said, this was my first impressions. I could be completely talking to the wind in the fact that we had a very well-built team. So maybe the quality wasn't because Lure was OP, but the team we had was just perfect, and we had the fear cards that went just perfectly. I can admit that. But like I said, my first impression was that this guy was just really, really strong. And like I said, I was looking at my board for a little bit, trying to figure out what to do on turns 1 and 2. But then once I found that rhythm, I think it was kind of similar to Green in a way, just because I feel as if the unique growth options, you do this always and this one. That gets kind of similar to what Green does, because he's always placing a presence, and you always want to figure out, okay, I can go here and go there and whatnot. In my opinion, all the plant-based people in this game are exceptionally strong. I think Keeper is really strong. I think Lure is really strong. I think Green is really strong. If you really have no idea where to go on to next, guys, and you're like a new player and you don't know what quality person you want to look at next to get to learn better, any of the plant guys. And if you like defense-minded characters, if you're a fan of Earth, I think that you will really make a good and simple transition from Earth to one of the plant dudes. Especially Green, because I think they're defensively minded, but they can just do a little bit more, just in a little bit different way. But anyway, those are my opinions on Lure. Oh my goodness, that guy is ridiculous, and I want to play as him again. As far as people I get back to, it's probably going to be Mist first and then Lure second.
Okay.
Only because those were the guys that really stuck out to me as powerful. But the thing is that Mist didn't appear to me as just ridiculously lactic cheese as this guy did. But that's just my opinion. That's my experience. I've only had one game, so take that with a grain of salt, y'all. But there you go. There was my opinions on Lure of the Deep Wilderness.
I think go ahead.
I think it'll be really interesting then to hear like how Lure is when you don't have those other spirits helping you, because that's an incredible
It's really
game.
nice because
now
he
I
needs
definitely
to
want to replay Lure.
I know. Well,
But
the thing that's cool though is when he sets up his spots to ignore people, you know, he can set up like a sacred site and he can ignore 4 explorers, and then to kill them you want to set up all these tokens. So I kind of felt like I was setting up these bases, like these little depots. Like I'm going to set up a depot right here of all these tokens. I got my token factory here. I got a disease token. I got a Badlands token. I got an explorer here. I got a wilds token. I got some beast token. I'm going to pull in some Dahan, which I thought was kind of funny how you can pull Dahan, but natively you can't do anything with them. But it lends himself to maybe find a Dahan card. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's kind of cool to set up. All right, I'm going to set up base over here, guys. All right, Lord's in town. I'm going to be all right, let's get this factory going. And
River does that too, where I'm like, I usually am trying to look for a defensive card because River gathers and then sprouts more. So I'm just like, one of the things I want first is like find a defense card with River, because you pull them in, but like you said, there's some spirits that don't really do much with Dahan.
So if you guys ever have a bad experience with Russia, I highly advise that you take Lure onto your future team comps, because
Counterpick.
He is a fantastic counterpick, in my personal opinion. At first, I was scared of Scotland for Lure because I'm like, wait, they do so many things on the coast. Yeah, I'm not afraid anymore. Pick, was it E board or F board? One of the new ones where one of the inland lands
is
adjacent to every single coastal land.
Okay.
Because that's the one I was on. Off the top of my mind, I can't remember which one it was, but it was one where the coastal lands numbered 1, 2, and 3, were all adjacent to the central land, and I was able to just yoink. So since they're all adjacent, Softly Beckon Ever Inward was constantly pulling people off of it. So for that board against Scotland and Lure on it, I think will probably be your best play. The reason why I bring that up, guys, is because I heard a lot of people saying that Scotland is going to be like really good against Lure. Well, I don't think it's going to be really too bad.
Yeah, I think Lure's just a strong spirit, and we were playing Russia, so it just, when you have that counterpick, it looks even stronger. Like, oh no, explorers do extra damage. Lure doesn't care.
Right, the severity of effect on the board seems bigger, because the bad guys are supposed to be harder. And they're not.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, initial thoughts, so we're going to have to replay these spirits. We all want to replay these spirits.
Yes.
Alrighty, so that will do it for this one, guys. I hope you've enjoyed our first impressions of these guys. Now that we actually have some experience under our belt, I can't wait to go and further flesh these out. And the next episode, we're just going to keep on trucking with the same kind of thing. Until then, I've been Ryan.
And me, John.
And I, Laura.
And we will catch you guys on the Flippity Flip.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Kindred Spirit Podcast. We appreciate you taking the time to do so. Feel free to visit us on our Instagram and Facebook page. You can find me on our Facebook page at The Kindred Spirit Podcast. To get a hold of John, check out our Instagram page at the KSP123. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in future episodes.